Think back to the haunting finale of the 1983 horror movie Christine, where the possessed car is finally destroyed, and the silence is broken by a mellow, heartbroken voice singing the classic ballad, Pledging My Love. That voice belonged to Johnny Ace, a man once called the King of R&B in the 1950s, a velvety crooner whose brief career burned bright and ended in sudden, shocking tragedy. Johnny Ace was a true pioneer, one of the first black artists to smoothly transition rhythm and blues into what would become rock and roll. Yet, his time in the spotlight lasted only 4 years, during which he recorded a mere 21 songs before his life was tragically cut short at the age of just 25. He is solemnly regarded as R&B and rock and roll's first major casualty, dying years before the famous 1959 plane crash that claimed Buddy Holly and Ritchie Valens. His death occurred on Christmas Day, 1954, backstage at a Houston concert, reportedly from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. But what truly happened in that dressing room remains shrouded in rumor. Was it a devastating accident, a tragic game of Russian roulette, or a darker, calculated act orchestrated by the cutthroat entertainment industry? He never gave an interview, nor was he ever filmed, yet his sudden, violent end opened the door for every black artist who followed. The roots of Johnny Ace's brief, brilliant flame lay in a home marked by strict religious piety in Memphis, Tennessee. Born John Marshall Alexander Jr. on June 9, 1929, he was the sixth of 11 children. His father, a Baptist preacher and laborer from Mississippi, and his mother from Arkansas, instilled a deep, unyielding religious discipline. Though the family was poor, they were fortunate enough to have an indoor toilet, a notable luxury in those days. Despite the strict environment where only spiritual gospel music was allowed, young John was naturally mischievous, always pulling pranks and playing rough. His true genius, however, emerged at the piano. He was gifted and could play the instrument by ear. When his parents left the house, he would secretly treat his siblings to the forbidden sounds of R&B and blues. By high school, his musical skill was undeniable, but his academic discipline was non-existent. He would constantly skip class, sneaking into the band room just to play the instruments. A teacher, Nat D. Williams, attempted to convince him to take formal music lessons, but Johnny Ace was uninterested. He didn't want to learn to read music, believing his God-given talent to play any instrument by ear, be it saxophone or organ, was enough. In the 11th grade, he dropped out of school and made a bold, defiant choice. He joined the Navy, hoping to escape Memphis and travel the world. His parents, though upset, viewed military service as a potential way to impose discipline on their wild son. The Korean War was underway at the time. The Navy also introduced him to a dangerous new fascination, firearms. Once shown how to handle a gun, he became obsessed with them. His military service was short and rebellious. He quickly grew disillusioned, particularly with the racism that permeated the ranks, where black sailors were often relegated to cleaning and cooking duties. Johnny Ace refused to conform. He was a wild spirit, constantly skipping his post to hit local clubs and perform on the piano. The military police, MPs, were perpetually searching for him, and he was kicked out of the Navy in less than a year for his persistent absence. Returning to Tennessee, he focused solely on becoming a musician. But life in the civilian world brought immediate trouble. He and a friend were arrested in Mississippi for stealing scrap metal. In a bizarre twist of the justice system at the time, They were allowed to leave jail during the day but had to report back at night to serve their time. During this period, his father brought him a guitar, and Ace and his friend would perform on street corners to earn money. After serving his time, he returned to Memphis, married, and had a son and a daughter, but he was a perpetual ladies' man and largely absent from his family. His strict, religious mother was so disappointed that she allowed his wife and children to stay in the house, but banished Johnny Ace himself, primarily because of his devil's music. Homeless and adrift, he began spending his days and nights on Bill Street, a bustling area some called the birthplace of the blues, and a place Elvis Presley was known to frequent to hear black music. It was on Bill Street that his fortune changed. He met the legendary blues guitarist B.B. King, who was forming his own band. B.B. King, recognizing Ace's talent, recruited him as his piano player, despite the common fear among musicians of playing alongside such a gifted artist. They called themselves the Bill Streeters, generating a buzz performing throughout Tennessee, often being paid $5 a night, plus a free room and unlimited chili at the Mitchell Hotel. The stage was now set for this shy, troubled genius to step out of B.B. King's shadow and claim his own destiny in the burgeoning world of rock and roll. The career pivot that transformed John Alexander into Johnny Ace began after B.B. King left the Bill Streeters to pursue his solo career. Johnny took over as the band's leader and surprisingly stepped up to sing. This transition occurred when Bobby "Blue" Bland, the band's intended vocalist, was unable to sing a song written by the band's new manager, David James Mattis, because Bland was illiterate. Mattis was also the program director at local radio station WDIA and the founder of Duke Records. The name change was immediate and strategic. John Alexander became Johnny Ace. The change was driven by a genuine fear that his R&B music, the devil's music, in his parents' eyes, would bring shame to them in church. When Mattis learned Bobby "Blue" Bland could not read his song, he found Johnny Ace in the corner, idly playing the piano and singing a rearranged version of Ruth Brown's "So Long." Ace kept the melody but changed the lyrics. Mattis, impressed by his unique mellow baritone and ability to sing, immediately signed him to a solo deal with Duke Records. In 1952, Ace released his debut single, "My Song," which quickly made local noise. To give the track the necessary national push, David James Mattis partnered with Don Roby, the ruthless owner of Peacock Records. Don Roby was a formidable, complex figure in the entertainment industry, a mixed-race black man who used his light complexion to his advantage and ran with a coterie of ruthless gangsters involved in gambling and prostitution. His circle was the backbone of the black entertainment circuit known as the Chitlin Circuit, sometimes called the Black Mob. Roby is considered the first African-American record mogul, predating Motown's Berry Gordy by a decade. He ran his business with violence and intimidation, famously taking the publishing rights from black artists under fake names. Roby used his gangster tactics to muscle his way into Mattis's Duke Records, eventually taking over the entire label and its artists, including Johnny Ace. Under Roby's aggressive promotion, "My Song" soared to #1 on the U.S. Billboard R&B chart, dominating the charts for 5 months. Women, who used to go crazy for that song, became his primary audience. With a #1 hit, Johnny Ace began touring the Chitlin Circuit for 11 months a year, performing nearly 350 shows. This grueling schedule was the only way black artists could make real money, as the record labels typically took the lion's share. He continued to churn out hits: Cross My Heart, number 3, Please Forgive Me, number 2, The Clock, number 1, Saving My Love for You, number 2, and Never Let Me Go, number 9. In 1954, he was named the most programmed R&B artist in a Billboard DJ poll. Despite his smooth crooner voice, his persona offstage was that of a wild boy. Johnny Ace was obsessed with guns, frequently showing off the firearm he kept on him. He was known to shoot stop signs and road signs while driving at 90 miles per hour, and even fired his gun from hotel room windows. Tragically, this dangerous habit of mixing firearms and reckless behavior was set to clash violently with his rising star on Christmas Day. Ban ko dong y voi noi dung fan nai kong. Toi si chi teep tuc kai ban zak nan. The tragedy of Johnny Ace's death on Christmas Day immediately triggered profound, unsettling questions within the entertainment industry and the wider American community. His sudden demise at 25, just as his career was reaching critical mass, served as a chilling precursor to the dark, fatal outcomes that would later shadow the lives of young rock and roll stars. The official ruling of an accidental self-inflicted gunshot wound failed to suppress the persistent rumors of foul play. These rumors pointed directly at the ruthless exploitation faced by black artists in the 1950s. The leading theory was that Don Roby, the black mobster who owned the label, had ordered a hit on Ace. Roby was a known gangster who ran his business with violence. Rumor suggested that Johnny Ace had given notice that he intended to leave Don Roby's Peacock Records for a better deal elsewhere. The cold reality of the entertainment industry was made stark by this suspicion. Many believed Don Roby figured Johnny Ace would be worth more dead than alive. This cynical calculation highlights a bitter truth of the era, that the system often profited most from the tragedy and death of black artists rather than their continued, costly success. The conspiracy theories extended to the dressing room itself. Johnny Ace's brother recounted a drummer's belief that Bobby "Blue" Bland, who remained in the dressing room just before the shooting, had something to do with slipping a bullet into the gun. This web of accusation and suspicion solidified the belief that the music world was a dangerous, cutthroat place where success could be purchased at the highest price. In a morbid twist of fate, Ace's death paved the way for his greatest triumph. Days later, Don Roby rushed the release of the single, Pledging My Love. The song spent 10 weeks at number 1 on the R&B chart and, crucially, crossed over to number 17 on the pop charts. This made Johnny Ace one of the first black artists to successfully enter the white pop charts. The unexpected hit opened the door for pioneers like Fats Domino and Chuck Berry, transforming the sound of American popular music. The grim distinction of Johnny Ace's fate is that he became the first tragic casualty of the nascent rock and roll era. He died young, at just 25 years old, years before other young stars like James Dean, Ritchie Valens, and Buddy Holly met their own sudden ends. His death on Christmas Day, 1954, remains a chilling and unresolved moment in music history. In a profound twist of irony, the song that immortalized him, Pledging My Love, was quickly released by Don Roby, who profited massively from the tragedy. The song's success, which propelled it onto the white pop charts, became the unexpected catalyst that opened the doors for other black artists, including Fats Domino and Chuck Berry, to achieve crossover success with white audiences. It was a legacy earned through blood, a tragic fulfillment of the American dream for others, purchased with the life of a gifted crooner. The song's influence continued, eventually being covered by Elvis Presley, who recorded it for his final album, Moody Blue, before his own cardiac arrest, and later featured in movies like Back to the Future. The shadow of his exploitation was long. Don Roby even attempted to capitalize further by signing other singers and falsely naming them Buddy Ace, claiming they were Johnny's brother. Johnny Ace was a shy man who often turned his back to the audience while performing. Yet, his death forced the public to turn and face him, confronting the brutal realities of the entertainment industry and the price of fame. He survived the racist military and the tough streets, only to be killed by his own reckless fascination with the gun he loved, on the unlikeliest of days. His life was short, his body of work consisting of only 21 songs. But his impact was seismic. He deserved induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The question of whether his death was an accident, a suicide, or a murder orchestrated by the entertainment industry will likely never be resolved, leaving his story to resonate as a powerful, cautionary tale. If you believe that Johnny Ace, the king of R&B and the Christmas Day casualty, deserves greater recognition for opening the door to rock and roll, please comment ACE below.